Hello, welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm your neighborhood pyrography artist, Valerie, and joining me tonight is my hubby, Jason, in the chat.
Hello.
And today we are doing a wood burning pyrography on. Lay down. Hold on, guys. Where is the mute? Hold on, guys. There we go. Sorry about that. Forgot to mute one thing. Okay, we are doing a burning on fluid 40-pound cotton watercolor paper. This is Eddie. He is the neighborhood cat who adopted us about 4 years ago. And the flowers, you can't see the whole thing, but the flowers that I'm using to kind of frame him is from the Arboretum here in Flagstaff. I just kind of want to make him feel pretty. And I have not burned on this paper, so this is going to be a first for everybody. The company did send me the paper to a sampler pack for me to try. They were curious to see how their paper burned, as was I. And this is hot press. I decided to go ahead and pick to do watercolor paper this time because I want to play around with adding watercolor to it. So we're going to get started. We're going to start with the eyes. I will be moving the paper around in different angles so I can get to it. And I am going to start, I think, with my old nibs burner spoon shader because I have that so worn down that it's smaller and I can get into places. Now with watercolor paper, I will be testing on just a scrap of paper to see what my heat is. You do have to burn hotter on watercolor paper. So I think I'll move my paper so you can see me test. It's just a scrap piece that I have laying around right now.
Bubba says hi.
Hey, Bubba. That should be a good start. I don't want to go completely black with it, as unlike wood, you can't sand this back. And it will heat through the paper. Hopefully you guys can still see. Trying to get my pen comfortable. Well, if Bubba's here, does that mean we got Josh and Jeremy too? We're going to start with the eyes, and we're just going to go in. Now this part, unfortunately with Google Hangouts, I can't show you the picture of what I'm burning, but on the cat's eyes, there's black all the way around it.
Like eyeliner.
Like eyeliner, yes. This is an 80s rock cat.
He's the Johnny Depp of cats.
Sometimes it kind of walks like that too. This will get darker. I do want this to be the biggest focus of, I'm calling this a study. That way I can let go and not be so absolute about it. I do like being able to burn on watercolor paper too. That gives us more options. And watercolor is easier to matte and frame. We don't have to seal before we add color to it. It does have good aspects of it.
Jason says everybody's there.
Everybody's there.
Yeah, Brian. And your dad.
Sorry, I'm trying to see the chat. It's not working for me.
It's the thing that lets you know. What you got in here?
It's true. I'll get back to this. Well, hi, everybody. Apparently, my family is in the house. In a house. I am going to go a little darker. I'm outlining, but I'm not. I'm trying to hit the spots that I know are going to be filled in. This is smooth. I did up my heat.
To what? From what?
I went from 1 to 1.5. This is the nibs burner that's burning hotter. And I did a test that surprised me. I was thinking it was the electricity in the house that was causing my issues for the nibs burner. And it turns out my pins need to be rewired. Tongue twister. But you can already see that it's burning hotter than it was. And this is one of the pins that needs to be rewired. But for what I'm doing today, I'm okay with that. Now we have 2 cats that that have adopted us. The other one is a black cat, and I got some beautiful pictures of him too, and I'll look at burning him in the future. But
A picture of him.
Yes, a picture of him, not actually burning.
No animals were harmed during this.
No animals were harmed during the making of this art. Maybe a little frustrated because I wouldn't get the camera out of their faces, but not harmed. Let's see here. This does go up. So I'm using the edge of the tip of the pen to get a hotter, darker burn. I think I'm going to use this small ball tip for the pupil because I don't want to lose the shape. So anyway, the reason I picked Eddie, because part of Eddie is tan and black and gray and white. So we're kind of running the gambit on getting the different tones and colors. And when I make sure I'm on, and when I do the watercolor, I'm looking at doing a loose watercolor over this. So it's almost like a pen and ink wash, but it's burning. And I'll still get my details, but I can be a little bit more artistic with how I color it. And I chose a cat because we had quite a few viewers who wanted to see a cat. And now I'm either going to make Eddie here dizzy because he's going to be upside down a lot, or you. Another good thing about watercolor paper, you don't have to prep before you start burning on it. You can just lay your pattern out. Like for this one, I used a light pad to transfer my pattern. See, this is like really black here, and I will come back to it. I just want to get it laid out. And the picture was taken kind of late evening, so I did have to use a flash, and I have to adjust for that contrast as I'm burning. One thing we really have to pay attention to is going in the direction of the fur. So Joshua, are you still interested in learning how to burn? Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go darker around the eyes. And right here is black. We have some black on the nose and under the nose. And for this live stream, I'm going to try to stick to this area in burning. There's one thing I didn't do, because I forgot, is I can take a cold, say, spear tip, and I can, without slicing into the paper, I can indent the paper and go over it where some of the white fur would be. So when I burn over it lightly, it isn't going to, it's going to leave the white almost like a relief. Here, I'll show you. Since I didn't do it, so if I just do this, like I just run it like I would, and watch this not work right. Remember, I still have my pen up hot. Let's see here.
Jason says yes.
It's not.
And Dorothy Smith
Hey, Dorothy.
says hello from Florida. I'm just learning, and your live feed really helped. Thanks.
Awesome, Dorothy. Thank you. Considering what I just tried to show you isn't working. I think the tip was not wide enough to really indent. It also could be because I've got a hard backing.
JPC says, yeah, I made it.
Yay!
And the art of Joseph Ditcham says hi.
Hey, Joseph. He is the other moderator for Lisa Lockery and has his own channel. Okay, so what was I doing? Because my whole example just did not work.
It said something about a spear, which I can only assume is a tip and not an actual spear.
Well, you could put that in a fire and use that to burn with. That would be called poker art.
Well,
that's how they used to do it.
Well, don't say that too loud, because then people will actually want that, and then that's going to be a lot harder to live stream.
Well, Joseph already put it out there that he wants a flamethrower.
Mm-hmm.
He wants flamethrower art. And the best we can do on that is a propane, which I will be doing. So this is underneath the nose. Eddie has some black under the nose.
And JP says he'll be back. He needs headphones.
Oh, is the audio okay? I hope it's loud enough. Let me see here. Undercut the nose a little bit. Now with watercolor paper, you're also having to watch the texture of the paper, and that's why I went ahead and picked hot press for this piece to try out, so that I'm fighting less with the texture of the watercolor paper.
Joseph says that the audio seems okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just okay.
He says seems okay to me.
Oh, that works. Thank you, Joseph. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the small ball tip for the Burnmaster. Sure.
Why?
Because I can get into a smaller area, darker, without overburning my lines.
Oh.
If you burn too hot, just like on wood, if you burn your area where you're burning, if your pen's up too hot, you'll get a yellowing. The best example of yellowing would be right here.
Oh, okay.
So I'm trying to avoid that. Now well, I guess it would help if I told the right pen to heat up. I was wondering why I wasn't doing anything. The ball tips do take a little longer to heat up. And if you can hear the fan in the background, it's cooler today in Flagstaff, but it's still warm in the studio. We need to move the air around. I hope it's not too loud and obnoxious. All right. So this is the really, really small ball tip. I put my hand behind it, but don't want to burn myself. All right. Need to check the back of the watercolor paper and see if it's burning to the back. Let's put this eyeliner on. He's got pretty thick eyeliner.
He's looking right at the camera. It's pretty intense.
He was.
I never noticed it before. His coloring makes him look like a luchador, a Mexican wrestler.
Oh, like a mask?
Yeah. It'd probably be El Gato.
That would be the easiest name. Well, considering in the photo I took, he has a scratch right here along his nose. I do believe he got into a cat fight the other night. That's the good thing about doing your own patterns, your own photos. You can alter them any way you want. In fact, for this photo, he's laying down, but hopefully the way I've done it, you can't. It looks more like he's sitting up. Every time he would sit up and I'd go to take a clear photo, he'd lay down. I guess I wasn't paying him enough in cat treats. And then the flowers, he wasn't in all these beautiful flowers. I had to put him there. So I'm trying to get my darks in, but leave the highlights, because that is another good thing about watercolor paper. You definitely have your white highlights. Got his pupils in. Let's darken his eyes. I am being a little more cautious because to fix an error, there is no sandpaper fixing this. I have to take a knife, like an X-Acto knife, and scrape it. And there's a good chance that it is not going to fix. Now I've got my pen just shy of 6. The cord is a little toasty warm, but not uncomfortable. Let's see here. Yeah, still gotta go darker. Another reason I pick watercolor papers, it's easier for me to flip it around on camera. Moving your base, whatever you're burning on, is really important to get nice, clear, clean burns and less likely to make a mistake. And this is really dark here, but again, I'll have to come back over it. I did have a custom fur hair tip made through Coalwood, but it needs some adjustment, and I'll be working with them on that to get it the way I want it. Let's see here. This is the nostril here, and there's less dark here. There is an outline around the edge of the eyeball, and I'll come back to that because I need to bump down the temperature on that.
What are you going down to?
When I go to do that, probably 2 or 3.
Okay.
Half of where I'm at now. And then the lines in here are some of just the iris coloring. I'm trying to get his shape right. I did turn his head a little bit for the photo. I wanted him to have a little bit more you looking at me attitude. Let's see here. Dark stops here, and then it picks back up here. But I don't, you know what? I'm not going to use the ball tip for the hair because it's just not going to go smoothly. So I'll bump down to 2, and we'll put in the iris line. Unfortunately, it is going to make it look a little bit like it's outlined, but that's how his eyes are. Test my tip again. I had to let it cool off. Actually, 2 is too. We're going up to 3.
JP says, I didn't know you could burn on watercolor paper. How does it compare to burning actual wood?
I would say the wood is a little bit easier to burn. You can do so with less heat. But I think both are worth doing. It depends, I think, oops, not the camera, what outcome you're wanting. See, with this, I didn't have to sand my wood because there is no wood. Didn't have to sand my paper. I am not going to have to seal it to add watercolor to it. I already have my high whites. It's just going to be a matter of shading and negative burning around the whites to make them pop out versus scratching or having to use a pencil, color pencil, whatnot. It really, I like burning on it. A little harder to get a smooth gradient because of the texture of the paper. But if you're aware of that and can make it work to your advantage, I'd say it's worth doing. And you can go up to 22 by 30, 36, 32, however big watercolor paper. Unless you buy the rolls, then you can go bigger. I am not going to be shading in his eyes too much. I'm just putting in some of the darker lines that I can see in the photo, because I am going to definitely use watercolor to make those pop out. I'm just trying to accent it. Though I can use the burning as a darker shade of the watercolor, if that makes sense. Let's see, one eye looks.
We have the Chaz joining us, who says hi all.
Well, hello, Chaz. Welcome. And I just realized. I have to make this bigger. For whatever reason, the left eye looks smaller.
His left eye?
Yeah, it looks smaller than the right eye. I think most of it's just there's more burning up here on the other eye.
Well, most people aren't symmetrical. I'm presuming that that's the case with animals as well.
That's true. I'm switching over to what? The Colwood. Because I do need to get some hair into.
Now you're switching machines because it's convenient for you.
Yes.
Now, if someone has one machine, then they wouldn't be switching machines. They would just be switching a different pen or a tip, right?
Yes.
Okay. Which could potentially be a little bit more time consuming, and since we're on a live stream, this is why you're doing it this way. And
yeah.
Set up for it.
I've got all my main tips that I think I'm going to use for the burning. They're already in all the pins because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 pins ready. I won't necessarily use them all. But yeah, one base and several tips is good enough for anybody not weird like me. This is taking. This is not a very thick tip. It shouldn't be taking this long and a number 5 to heat up.
It's not heating as quickly as you'd like.
Yeah. But that's only because I get impatient and don't want to wait.
I wouldn't say you're weird. I think that anybody who does art knows that as you get into something, you have a tendency to get more of the supplies that are going to help you. So I think it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of how much time that you've invested in it, and so you have these extra things to because it helps you.
That's true.
Some folks that are learning, and maybe over time, they might find themselves getting a lot more tips, and maybe even a secondary machine so that they can work quicker. Eve says, "Hi all.
Hi,
I'm
Eve.
so sorry I'm late."
I'm glad you made it, Eve. Eve is one of our moderators. I'm glad she was able to make it. Apparently, Canada is having a whole bunch of holidays in a row, summer holidays. I guess her partying time is done. Well, and another reason I have 4 machines is I bought the Burnmaster out of panic because I bought the Burnmaster Eagle out of panic because Nibs Burner had just gone out of business and I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to replace things. So I went ahead and got the Burnmaster because it said that it took all the tips or all the pins from all the different machines, Coalwood, Razor Tip, Burnmaster, Nibs Burner. And they had the ball tips that I wanted that Burnmaster or Nibs Burner did not. And so I bought the Burnmaster as a kind of, I could experiment with all the different pins without having to buy everything, in theory. And that theory did not work out. So I'd already spent the money on my new razor tip pins and tips, maybe because the voltage is different on how much heat it pushes out. I was afraid of losing my razor tips and pins, so I invested in that machine. And then Coalwood is because, well, I didn't know how well it burned. I didn't know how it burned, and I wanted to test it out. And I'm gonna blame Hubby. He enabled me. It was your fault.
Huh?
Yeah, it was your fault.
Why are you blaming me?
Because it was your fault.
You seem like I'm an enabler or something.
We enable each other.
So, Eve confirmed that yes, that the 24th of June is her province's holiday and July 1st is Canada Day. And apparently, JP says that somebody's popping fireworks outside his house.
Already?
Yeah, he says it's July 2nd, people, come on. So I suppose, yeah, because Eve said leftover fireworks. Where's JP at?
Oh, I believe he is in the Midwest.
Okay, so it's early for JP. It
Mm-hmm.
would be
A day late for Eve.
Eve says leftover fireworks, which would be right if JP was in Canada.
All right, a lot of his nose right here and this strip above it is white, so I'm trying to go around it. Well, I don't know if anybody else would consider it in Canada as important, but yesterday was my little brother's
JP
birthday.
Says he's in Texas.
Texas. Yesterday was Brian's birthday. He's an old man. And I know he's watching, that's why I said it. I am not singing happy birthday, though.
And that's where he lives, right?
Brian?
Texas.
Yeah, JP. Oh, JP, yes.
Eve says the cat is looking so good already.
Thank you. I kind of wanted a romantic feel, even though he's kind of got for better lack of term, pissy look on his face. I kind of wanted a romantic feel to it.
Eve says those eyes. I think that's ironic, especially since he's named after Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation.
We named him that. I just gave him the name because I asked him what he wanted to be called, and that's what popped in my head.
Oh, I thought it was because of Cousin Eddie.
No.
Oh. No, I feel bad.
But if that works for you.
Apparently it does.
Let's see here. Where do I want to go? So there will be some shading in here, but because it's white, I've got to be careful and go even lower my pen. These are going to go, oops, don't touch the paper. These are going to go darker. I'm just kind of laying them out right now and trying to keep from jumping around.
Eve asks, so that's your cat?
He adopted us. We are a dog household, and big dogs at that, who see Eddie and the other cat, Pretty, I named Pretty, as doggy snacks. So they have to live outside. We would give them a proper home, but some in this house view them as snacks.
Well, one of the cats actually has a home.
Yes.
He just roams, and he spends a lot of time here.
Well, he sleeps here a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Even in the wintertime. They don't. That's a completely. The other kitty got kicked out of his home because a dog was brought in and he didn't like the dog. So.
The Chad says, I felt so lost without my live shows lately, with Lindsay away on vacation. LOL.
I'm glad I could kind of fill in. I am doing a live on Wednesday morning. I'm thinking 10 o'clock, if that's okay, love.
Okay.
I want to be able to let those in the UK and beyond the pond also be able to join in chat and the live, because right now it's like 2 or 3 in the morning for London, I think. And I just want to be able to talk to everybody. So this Wednesday, July 5th.
He says, oh no, poor cat. I'm presuming about what you're talking about.
Yeah, with Pretty. Yeah. That cat thinks he's a dog. He really does. And he is very, I'm going to do this whether you like it or not. If he wants to be petted and in your lap, that's where he's at.
He's a cat.
Yeah. Yeah, but then he runs down to the sidewalk when anybody's out going for a walk. He goes down to the sidewalk and solicits pets. He is quite the how would I word that? And keep it clean.
He's a ham.
He's a ham, all right. He's a very much all about me. Love me till I don't want you to love me no more.
Roseanne Davis says, hey, Valerie and Jason, happy 4th.
Happy 4th, Roseanne.
Happy 4th.
Let's see here. Trying to figure out, because there's so much more. I know I said I was going to focus on the eyes and stay put, but yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. We're going to do some other places.
Roseanne says, the cat looks cute.
Thank you. Well, you wanted a cat. Or was it Dorothy that wanted the cat? And Eve wanted a cat.
I was going to say, I thought Eve called for a cat.
Eve did call for a cat.
Well.
And last week I thought we're going to erase some of our pencils, see how it's looking. See where, because remember the pencil will darken up the burn underneath. So this will give us an idea of what we need to touch on.
So you're just doing because this is going to become a watercolor, right?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how you would frame it because it's a pyrography with watercolor.
But you're burning in mind that you're going to be adding color.
Yes.
Okay. Dorothy says, okay, Eve says, yeah, I did. And Dorothy says, nope, I wanted the horse.
That's right. Dorothy wanted the horse. She left that in the comments. It was Roseanne who.
Sorry, Dorothy.
I think there was another Dorothy that came in.
Nope.
Sorry. Donna. Was it Donna? I have to go find somebody who owns a horse and ask if I can take pictures of their horse.
Do you have a pony?
Yeah, he doesn't count.
As big as a pony.
He's as big as a pony, but not a pony. Keep hitting the camera.
We're planning on letting our granddaughter ride her.
This is true.
That makes her a horse.
Because he's big enough. Yes. But not the same fur. Dorothy's looking for the smoother short fur, and I almost, instead of the cat, I got a cute picture of our bull mastiff Layla, who has that short smooth hair, and I almost burned her, but then
a picture of.
Yes. Well, at this point, I'm assuming anybody that's watching me knows that no animals are harmed during the making of this art. Where to go?
Dorothy says it's the real short hair I don't know how to do.
Honestly, Dorothy, on the real short hair, if it's a side view or side plane, then it's just going to be a smooth burn. If the hair is facing you, so it's short hair facing you, it's going to be a lot of stippling, a lot of little dots. And just making sure that you get a gradient in the areas where there's, say, a highlight. You're going to want to burn lighter around the highlight and gradiate it out to your darker burn, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense.
But I think probably in the future, if you do that,
I will.
If you have a horse, maybe somebody has a horse or has access to horses.
Well, I know I can get pictures off of Paint My Photo, but I kind of want to take the pictures myself. So I was kind of thinking maybe we could go out to Kikina Village. There's a couple of houses that have horses, and I think they board there. And I was going to go talk to some of them that have stables and ask if they would mind if I took reference photos.
There's that one place that's on the way to town that's like the Western theme place.
Yeah, that place too.
Progress.
Yeah, I was going to go talk to them. They've got the gray ones too. And I like gray horses. The blues. All right, so kind of hard to burn long hair while talking about short hair. Now the only reason
if we talk about horses, is he going to
turn into
like a horse?
Turn into short hair. What's the cat without?
Pretty?
No, the cat breed that's bald.
Oh, I don't know.
I can feel that.
I think of Dr. Evil's cat.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Roseanne says, my cat is somewhere.
Alright. Really, with burning hair or fur, you're trying to, if it's long hair, you're doing longer strokes, and if it's short hair and kind of shiny like a horse or some of the dogs, you're just going to be burning smoothly with your shader. Can you turn the click the mouse so I can see the reference photo?
It just happened.
I don't know. No, wait. No, no, no.
Oh,
No, this one. The computer decided to go to sleep. Or off.
I think maybe I don't know. We're still broadcasting.
No, I know your computer's broadcasting. That computer has my reference photo. Now I don't have a reference photo. Okay. Well, I know this was dark, therefore this is dark because I'd already started it. I'll just turn it this way.
I think we need to do like a hard copy backup.
Oh, I will. It's just that's where my photo is plugged into.
Does it do that often?
No, that's the first time.
Can you go without a reference for the last 15 minutes?
I can.
Okay.
I shall wing it.
Okay. Wait, you're not doing a bird though.
Speaking of, we did go to Arizona last week, and we're going back tomorrow, right? Tomorrow. To get more reference photos, including JPC will be happy that they have George, the great barn eagle, that I can get really good photos of. I will say this is harder because I need to see the pattern of the fur. That's the biggest thing. Just like with drawing or painting, you want to stick to burning in the direction of your object. So even if I was just burning an apple, I would be burning in half circle or big long half circle to get the shape of the apple.
MWB Arts.
Hey, Mark.
I just got here. Hello, Valerie. What temperatures and nibs do you use on watercolor paper?
On watercolor paper, I'm using the same nibs as I do on wood. So this one right here is the coal wood, and I am at a 6. I'm trying to do a medium burn because in this fur there are pieces of white fur and it's not all black, so I'm trying to get it, make it look where it's not solid, because I still have to go darker around the eyes because this is black and it's never going to go fully black, and that's fine, that's good, but I do need to go darker around the eyes. This cat, like we said earlier, he's got some nice 80s rock eyeliner on. Not on, it's his fur. It's his.
Roseanne Davis says, well, she's talking about her cat, giving her cat's treats, but apparently her cat's name is Maxwell Smart, which is a really good cat name.
Yes. I was looking at the back. I just want to show you real quick that it does come, the burning does come through. My wood base, that my drawing board is not finished. I want it needs to be raw wood, because when you're burning and it goes through, if it's finished, you have a much higher chance of melting it when you're burning on watercolor paper. And honestly, even the birch that I burn on, the back does get hot where I've burned. So it's better to use raw wood. And if you looked at my base, you would see shadow, or there's burns in the wood from this.
What do you mean when you say raw wood?
My board, my drawing board, the board that this is holding up, it is not, it's raw. It is not finished. There's no stain. It's not treated in any way. Okay. And I believe I got this one a long time ago at Michael's. I think I got it on sale by the drafting supplies.
That makes sense. You don't want to work on anything that's flammable.
Yeah. Anything that's flammable, or if the sealant, if it was varnished and it melted, it could attach to the back of the piece, to give off toxic fumes. Just make it very unpleasant to deal with. I'm actually kind of working with the side of the tip instead of the, I'm using it from the side, and I'm actually getting a better burn for fur instead of using it straight up and down.
That's kind of the question I have, you know. So if it seems to me like the different tips lend themselves to different techniques, but you're using different parts of the pen tips, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're sketching with the pencil and you're using different parts of the pencil to get different textures and effects.
Yes. In fact, I just, one thing with the watercolor paper, because it does, I can feel my burn, I can feel the texture, and it just kind of, I don't know how well it can see, but using it sideways, it kind of lifted the paper. I have to be careful. I've never had that happen before, which is why we're testing the fluid watercolor paper. I have to be careful with that. And I think I'm going to actually not use this tip right now, but because I don't like what I did right there. I'll be able to hopefully cover it. And when I was burning, it did kind of slice into the paper a couple of times, which is that's gonna happen, especially when you're using a sharp tip. Let's see if I can get this to come. I moved all my burners to the right so I could reach them easier. Oops. I'm just having all kinds of malfunctions. Okay, this is the new Cool Tip spoon shader for nibs burner. So they've only got 4 tips. This is one of them, and the reason I found out that the wiring was probably an issue with my pen, and I had to send everything back for nibs burner. This is a very good shader. If there's only one problem, though, I would say jump on it and get it. If you have a nibs burner, absolutely get the new spoon shader. If not, I would, though they're out of stock right now, I would call Wilburn Gourd Farm and request and find out if you can get just the pen without the cord attached. If you can get the pen without the cord attached, and unfortunately this is how they've been selling them now, is fixed tip, fixed cord. But if you can get it without the cord, so it's just the pen and the fixed tip, you could use it with your Burnmaster or your Colwood, and it's definitely a tip worth getting. If they won't do it, I'm trying to get a spoon shader made through Colwood, similar to this tip. Colwood, unfortunately, is not able to do it right now. But I'm going to keep on them. I'm trying to darken this up just a little bit. No, I can't. It's a polished tip. And that's another thing. If you're having a problem with your tips kind of dragging, either you've burned really dark and it kind of squeaks and you're cleaning off your tip, but it's still dragging, as in it's slowing down your stroke, for a better, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's slowing down your pen as you're drawing it across the wood. Polish your tip. I was having that problem with the Colwood shader, and I'm actually going to do a video on polishing your tips. But this one is a polished tip, so it's nice and smooth and burns easier.
So when you say dragging, that's like an actual physical sensation that you get, right?
Yeah. When I was working on the bear, I can't remember if it's the first live or the second live, I was having that issue where I was, burning across the board, and here I want my hand to go a certain speed, but it's just a feeling that is not moving the way you want it to. It's really hard to describe. It's not necessarily catching, though that did happen a couple of times.
So Grace Blosser says that cat is looking great.
Hi, Grace.
And NWD Art says, so what is the major differences you're needing to do different in your normal way of burning in your art? And did I read that?
I think I understand what he means.
Okay.
It's kind of similar to JPC's question.
Yeah.
I'm watching how I have to watch, and we just found that out earlier. I have to watch how I hold the pen tip, especially if it's sharp. I have to watch how I'm holding it to the paper. And honestly, that's pretty much it.
So from wood to watercolor is not that much different, except for what you said earlier about well, I would say it's less forgiving, right?
It is less forgiving, yes. So I do have to pay more attention. So right now, because I don't have my reference photo, and I should have printed it like I was going to, I'm kind of just touching up things versus trying to actually burn more, because I won't be able to sand away an error. And it can be harder than wood to darken your burn. It may take even more heat than you were expecting. I mean, this Fluid 100 watercolor paper is doing great. This is hot press, so it's really smooth. And I debated because hot press paper in general is meant for, like, if you're doing watercolors, meant for tighter detail. And for this, I want to go, at least in some areas, looser. So I had to go back and forth and decide what kind of paper I wanted to use. Now, I know up here is dark, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that in. Maybe. I'm going to have to go with a different tip. But I can at least get the base, just because I know this is darker here. I'm just going to go ahead and burn. I'm not going to worry about, this is the underburning for this area. Let's see here. I know, because this tip is actually a little bit big for what I'm trying to do right now. This isn't like watercolor where, bigger brush might be bigger or better. You kind of do want your tips to match your area that you're trying to burn hot.
Eve asks, is it more difficult to burn on cold press because of the texture?
Yeah, it can be, depending on. Now with the cat hair, I think it would have been fine, but I wouldn't have. But where I want a smoother burn, yes, the texture will show up. Kind of like if you were dry brushing acrylics, water, oil, or if you were using a light layer of colored pencil and you can see the paper come through, that's the same result you would get burning on cold press. And, you know, light colored pencil, you could, for a better lack of term, burnish with higher heat to fill in the tooth of the paper, since you're not using any kind of medium to melt anything. I know this is darker.
It says, I see.
I definitely think it's worth burning on watercolor paper. See how it feels to you. It might be depending on the type of paper and your location, it might actually be a better option. You get more paper for decent price. I also have Arceus that I'll be trying, both cold and hot press. It is hard not having my reference. I know this part is darker.
We're at 1 hour right now.
Are
How
we?
much longer would you like to go?
I think we're going to start wrapping it up since I don't have my reference, so I'm kind of unsure of where I want to go or how I want to handle it.
And the artist Stephanie just came in. She was wondering what the name of that tip is called.
This one is the Nibs Burner Spoon Shader. I have a link down in the description for Mountain Woodcarvers. If there's any in stock, you can buy the tips there. Same as the burners.
And Grace asks, how did you choose the weight of paper that suited you best? In my mind, it seems like 300 pound would be better since it's thicker, or does it just depend on how careful you are?
I'm not like, let's see what happens if I turn this up. I don't know if I want to do it with this tip though. Let's see what it would take. I'm trying to pick the right tip. Okay, this is the Burnmaster Eagle spoon shader. Let's see how much heat it would take to go through watercolor paper.
And Jason says, good job, sis. The eyes look awesome.
Thank you, Wilba. Can you still see the eyes? Here, I'll tape them up here. There we go. I've got it set on 8 right now. This is their new spoon shader. I do need to smooth out because the metal doesn't sit even together, and polish. Oh, I've never done that before.
What did you do?
I'm not plugged in.
You're not plugged in?
I was wondering why it wasn't heating up. Okay, we're going to try that again. Can't take that off the World Wide Webs now, huh? Okay. Oh, now I can smell it. There we go. Oh, yeah. This is an 8, though you can see the tip getting red. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm still not through the paper. Now if I slow down, let's see what happens. This is cotton. The wood pulp papers would burn a little bit differently, of course. Actually, this right here is Strathmore 400. So that wasn't a good example. Let's go up to 9 and see what happens. I don't normally.
Grace says, whoa, that looks really hot.
Yeah. I don't normally burn this high.
But yeah, it's true.
Yeah. But it's still not going through the paper. Now if I slow down, it might. Ooh, got some smoke. So anyway, this is a 9 with a red hot tip, and it did not fully go through the paper. So I wasn't really worried about 140 pounds not being able to take it.
I think when you're talking about paper selection, the surface of the paper is more important, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Whatever.
Like you wouldn't want to burn on rag because that would.
What do you mean on rag?
Well, you know, on the rag paper, that's like got a lot of texture on it.
You can, and if you incorporate the texture from that paper into your burning, it probably would really look cool. Like if you were burning somebody's clothes and you want a texture in the clothes, it might actually be a quicker, easier way to do it if you used a really textured paper.
And JP asks, does burning paper smell anywhere near as amazing as wood?
No, it does not. It smells like burning paper.
Eve says, I'm not good with tools that need heat.
You can do it.
Me too, Eve.
I have not burned down the house.
Yeah, thank you for knocking.
Of course I not.
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and finish up here. Again, I will be going live Wednesday morning around 10 a.m. I'm going to say around 10 a.m. That gives me time to wake up and have coffee and be functional. And we'll do another hour on the cat. I'm hoping, because I did do, this is a 7, the paper is 8 by 10, but this piece I make sure to draw at 7 by 9. Shouldn't take me as long to burn. Fingers crossed on that.
Grace, real quick, Grace says it's so impressive. Learn new things every day. I suppose I really don't think about how thick 140 pound is.
Well, I'm glad I could show you, Grace. Thanks everybody for stopping by. I appreciate it so much. And if you like the video, please don't forget to hit that like button and hit that notification bell if you're a subscriber. That way you always get notified when I'm going live. And if you're new here and haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button. We'd love having you. Happy burning, guys. Bye.